Hey everyone, I wanted to get on here today to talk a little bit about shielding and protecting yourself while you're in this system. A lot of people talk about, spiritual shielding, but there's all different forms of shielding out here. You have your spiritual shielding, of course, you have mental shielding, physical shielding. There's all different ways that you can protect yourself. And when I say protect yourself, it's not saying that something's coming at you. It's to, harness your energy more. When you say you're protecting something, it's really, saying you're making sure that, it's not being influenced. So really protecting is just, stopping outside influences from changing whatever it is that you wanting to, stay the way it is or grow along its natural path. But, when it comes to shielding, you have to understand that, there's going to be different ways you can go about this. And with spiritual shielding, I'm just going to start with that. Spiritual shielding, when you're making these shields and from different things that you want to, stop affecting you, stop bothering you, you can end up, changing the way your shields go in order to where they can power themselves. Everything costs energy, and energy, makes up this system that we're in. So you have to understand how to utilize that energy in order to best, serve your purpose. So when you're shielding yourself spiritually, it can take a lot of energy. It can be draining from yourself, especially if there's things going on, a lot of things that you're trying to, protect yourself from. But you can actually go in and set up something inside of your shield, set up something, a certain frequency and vibration to that shielding in order to keep yourself, from actually utilizing more of your inner energy and utilizing some of this outer energy. Like how we say, like solar panels and stuff. Like right now, like I'm out here, the sun is shining, and it's beaming on me, and saying that's a form of energy, and I'm picking up that energy and absorbing that energy. Now, if you think about your spiritual shields, mental shields, or whatever, well, I'm talking about spiritual shields right now. You can take that energy, that frequency, that vibration from the sun, that solar energy, and use that to fuel your shields. So while the sun is out, it is charging up your shields. It is, bringing them to a higher vibration, a higher frequency, and not even just a higher frequency, a denser frequency, a denser vibration that's going to help you to, block out those energies that you're trying to block out, or help you to filter through those energies that you are wading through, because we're all wading through different energies and we're all learning different things as we go along. So you have to understand that, there's all kinds of different forms of energy out here that we are interacting with, that we are absorbing, that we are throwing off. And we could utilize this energy instead of, letting it pretty much go to waste. Even though energy doesn't go to waste, it's just transformed into a different form or frequency or vibration. But we can use that energy in order to, help protect ourselves more, help fuel what we have going on in this reality and in this system. So, remember that and think about that when you're like, oh, well, I've been getting, a lot of people say, they're targeted or they're getting attacked by, whatever it is. And they're like, it's really draining, or they're dealing with someone all the time, and, and dealing with them is just really draining. Well, you could take that energy, instead of letting that energy affect you and you lose more energy trying to stop it or hinder it, you could use that energy in order to fuel your shields. You could use that energy in order to fuel yourself, in order to become the best version of yourself. You could use that energy and utilize it in order to do different things. And if you're looking for tips on, spiritual shielding, you could always hit me up on a one-on-one call or a consultation, and we could talk more about it. But, some of the basic things are, you can pretty much, form a bubble around yourself, or there's different things that you could do, and you have to be consistent with it every day. Visualization. Visualize what you want your shield to be in order to make it stronger. And there's different tips and tricks that you can use, through your meditation, through your daily charging and different things that you do in order to, help, promote this energy and promote this shielding that you want. But, that's for another video. Now, what I said at the beginning of this video is just different type of shielding. We talk about spiritual shielding, where we're shielding ourselves and protecting ourselves, and really just harnessing our spiritual energy. But then you have to think about it. A lot of this world deals on the mental plane. So you have to think about your mental shielding. People will be like, oh, he doesn't have a strong mentality, or they're no saying they're mentally weak. It's not that they're mentally weak. It's just that they haven't put those shields in place. They haven't been able to, properly utilize their energy to stop their mental energy from being drained, from being used in other ways that is not, conducive to their lifestyle. So when you are working on shielding, it's wonderful to make sure that you're working on your spiritual shielding, but you also have to work on your mental shielding, because there's a lot of mind games. People say, people play a lot of mind games. You have to get mentally strong, so you have to be able to strengthen your mental energy. One way of strengthening your mental energy, they always tell you, is read books, get more knowledge. But really and truly, where's this knowledge coming from? In order to strengthen your mental energy, you have to strengthen your knowledge of self. You have to strengthen the knowledge that is within you, the knowledge that comes from the source, the knowledge that comes from the universe, the knowledge that's within all of us, that's around us in everything. Because even as I'm walking around, right now, I'm strengthening my mental energy because I'm looking at the trees. And as I look at the trees, start thinking about, what do you know about the trees? What are the trees doing? How do they transform energy? How are they protecting themselves? How do they actually move through this system? And then start asking yourself different questions. A lot of people don't ask themselves questions on little things like, why is the grass growing? Why is the sun shining? Why is the wind blowing? These questions that a lot of people say, well, no, that's just nature. That's just how it is. But there's different laws and different energies and frequencies behind that, which is also different laws, frequencies, and energies that is within yourself. So once you start learning this information, you start learning more about yourself, you start learning to be able to be more steadfast, be more, stable within your mental scape. You start getting more knowledge about the human body. You can start getting more knowledge about the human mind. You can get more knowledge about how, people move through these mental realms. There's a lot of different books out there as well that talk about, mentalities and, different self-help things and different ways in order to strengthen, basically your mental energy. But the best way is to, really do that inner search. As you go out here and you see how the different beings are interacting, and I say beings, human beings, animals, whatever it is, whatever you're seeing, whatever you are interacting with, you start seeing how they interact with everything. You start seeing how they are actually utilizing this energy to help protect themselves. They're utilizing this energy to learn more about themselves and actually push themselves forward. So you have to be able to see that this energy is something that's within you. This knowledge is something that's within you. And once you start going within and, really communicating with your higher selves, some people say your spirit guides and different stuff, once you start actually, understanding these different perspectives, and really these different perspectives are just different, facets of yourself, different facets of the mind, different facets of this reality that we are going through. So once you start understanding more of that, then you can start strengthening your mental shields, because once you start understanding more, then you can start, lessening that fear. Because a lot of times it's the fear of the unknown that, weakens, our energy, weakens that shielding, weakens our mentality, because we're afraid of something. And you might be like, oh, I'm not afraid of this, or I'm not afraid of that. But no, I just don't like this. I don't like to do that. Well, why don't you like to do that? Because you're afraid of getting hurt. Are you afraid of disappointment? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of how that's going to make you look? Or, it's a lot of different fears that happen in this system. And, the more knowledge that you get, you're able to eliminate those fears, because now you can have a better understanding. I'm not going to say that you fully understand it, because as we're here in this system, we don't ever fully understand anything. We might understand the mechanics and the workings of stuff on a basic level or intermediate level, even an advanced level, but it's not that we're going to fully understand it, because there's going to be times where it's like, well, I don't know why that happened. It just does. It just happens like that sometimes, because, things happen like that. There's random energy, there's random frequency that's flowing through everything. It is not really random, but we just don't understand, the way that operates, the way that works. So the more knowledge that you get on something, the better you understand it. You're not afraid to do it. I take the example of a car mechanic. When you start working on something, you might be like, okay, I could do oil changes. I could do brakes. I don't want to mess with that engine because I don't want to break their engine. I don't want to mess it up. I don't know nothing about that. I'm worried I'm going to do something bad to it. I'm not going to be able to get to it the way it needs to get to. But then you start learning more about the mechanics of it. And then that fear of breaking it, that fear of messing up of it, goes away, and you're able to interact with it more. So that's the same thing with your mental capacity, your mental energy, your mental shields. The more that you're able to eliminate that fear, the more that you're able to get rid of that fear of the unknown, the more that, these different things that are coming at you, and you might realize that it's not even that they're coming at you, it's just that it's around. You're flowing through it. All this energy is here. So as you start going through this, you start realizing different aspects and different perspectives of things, and then that fear of it goes away. It's not draining your energy because you're not putting energy into worrying about this, worrying about that, So you got to understand that when you're working on shielding and you're worried about something going on, first you have to understand that worry, that energy that you're putting into actually being worried, being afraid, or being, whatever emotion or whatever energy or vibration that's coming up because of that, once you start to realize that energy and vibration that you're having is actually draining you, then you can realize, hey, maybe I should start taking my energy away from that. Stop putting my energy into that. Into that worry, into that fear. Now, I'm not saying to not be aware of it. I'm saying to stop putting your energy into it, because you could be aware of something and still not put your energy into it. So, and that's a whole nother thing. So you have to start to realize, how you utilize your energy, where your energy is going, and how to, harness that energy and keep it within yourself, or use it for however you're supposed to be using it. This is not saying to be super controlling or anything like that, but it's to understand exactly what you're doing out here, because everything, in this reality, everything in this system is about our reaction, how we are doing things, how we're interacting with things, and what we are doing with our energy. What are we doing with the energy that's around us? Because, we are a part of that energy. That energy is a part of us. But you have to understand that, all this stuff is to get you to have more knowledge, back to the mental shielding and the mental clarity. Once you start getting more knowledge of things, then you start to eliminate that fear, and you can start, actually progressing on your mental shield. You can start progressing on your mental strength, your mental, clarity, as they say, as you go along. Now, then there's also physical shielding, and this is when people take self-defense classes, martial arts, or, just go out there and learn how to protect yourself physically. Even our clothes are physical protection. They're protecting us from different elements that are out here that can harm our skin, that harm our physical body, so, and that's because, we have more knowledge of what these things affect us. So we're able to create, these different things in order to, help protect us. We're able to understand it and be able to then, not let our energy be taken or lessened or damaged from whatever it is that could bring us harm, or not even just harm, because, you could be protecting yourself from joy. You could be protecting yourself from excitement. You could be protecting yourself from a lot of different things. People talk about sins, 7 deadly sins and stuff. You could be protecting yourself from lust. You could be protecting yourself, from greed. There's a lot of different things that you could be protecting yourself from. But, once you start getting the knowledge of what's going on, then you're able to actually understand and, lessen that amount of energy that's going to, take away from that. I live in Florida, so there's a lot of hurricanes that happen, so, out here, people start protecting themselves from the hurricanes, a physical protection, because once those elements come in, the wind starts blowing, that rain starts going, and it starts to, go through and destroy, and reset that different energy. But that's something else. But once it starts coming through, you have to have certain protection in place. And we were able to get the knowledge of what we need to do in order to not be afraid of that energy. That's why people still live, in places where there's extreme weathers and where there's natural disasters, because that fear, yes, you might be, saying afraid of what it could do, but that you have, whatever's in place to try to keep you as protected as possible. And that's the whole thing. It's lessening that fear of what could happen, what might happen, because once you start lessening that fear, then you start strengthening all these different energies. So if you take anything from this video, take that you can transform whatever energies that are around you and help to fuel your protection. You could transform that fear that you're having into a strong protection, a strong shield of whatever you need. Gain more knowledge of yourself, knowledge of the world around you, in order to really understand what's going on. And then you could start to actually build upon that, and not let your energy be leaked and not be as draining. So just take that and think about it, because, hey, You might find something out.